Hello everybody and welcome to today's lesson. Thank you so much for everybody who's joining us today. Sorry that today has started a little bit later than normal. We had some technical issues, but we're all ready now. So for anybody that doesn't know me, my name is Naomi. I'm an English teacher from England, from the UK, and I'm currently streaming from London. And hi there to everybody who's out there listening. Hope you're having a really good day. Today is part of an ongoing series. So last week we were looking at what to do in your IELTS reading exam and the best tips to get you those high band scores. So this week we're going to be doing a similar thing, but we will be looking at the writing section of your IELTS exam. Fantastic. So, without further ado, let's get started. For anyone joining just now, my name is Naomi, and I'm an English teacher from the UK. It's really great to be with you all today. I've been with Mpub Merseyside Publishing for about a month, and yeah, really happy to be joining you again today. Today we're going to be looking at mostly at the structure of your reading exam. Okay, so we're going to be looking at what to expect in that exam so that nobody goes in to any unexpected surprises, and so that you're really prepared when you go in. Today is going to be an overview of academic and general IELTS. I explained in some of my previous lessons the main differences between those two. If you want to go to university or higher education in an English-speaking country like Canada, New Zealand, the UK and Australia, it is very likely you will have to do the IELTS academic exam. Check with your university, but that's generally what happens. General is mostly for work or for training. Yeah, so two different types of exam, general and academic. Check with your work, check with your university which one you need. And today we will be looking at the writing part of the IELTS exam for general and academic, for both. Okay, so whether you're doing academic or general, stay, join us, you will learn something from this lesson. Okay, fantastic. So, what do I actually have to do in IELTS writing? Does anybody know what you have to do in IELTS writing? You can write in the comments any answers to my questions, comments, or questions. Okay, love to hear your questions. We will go through questions as we go along or a bit later in the lesson. So, let's look at the structure of the exam. Unfortunately, you won't be in a lovely field writing your exam. You'll probably be in a classroom, or maybe you're doing the online exam, a kind of formal indoor setting. But you can practice anywhere. Yeah, remember, your practice does not have to just be at a desk, inside, in the library. You can practice on your phone, on your commute, when you're in the tube, if you're having a break from work or from your university, do a bit of writing. Take every little opportunity to revise your English and make sure you're doing something every day. At the end of every day, ask yourself, am I speaking English? Am I reading enough English? Am I writing every day? And am I listening? By watching videos, series, whatever it is. Good. So in the structure of the exam, fantastic. We've got some people saying already, task 1, spelt with an A, task. Task 1, graph, table, chart, maybe pie chart, bar chart, or line graph. Great suggestions there, Najmul. That is absolutely correct. And that is for the academic IELTS. For the general IELTS, the first task is writing a letter. In the academic, you don't write a letter at all. You are given a graph or a table, and you have to give a summary. We'll look at that in more detail in a minute. Imran is saying you should write according to the answer. You should be very specific, to the point, and use proper words. Exactly, Imran. I think the most important thing you mentioned there, Imran, is being very specific and to the point. Lots of students will mention things from related topics or background knowledge that they know from this topic, but make sure you're really answering that question. Only bring in your own knowledge if it is relevant. Yeah, only bring in your own knowledge if it is relevant. If it's not 100% related to the question, don't mention it. It won't help you. Okay, fantastic point, Imran. Thanks for that. Imran is also saying task 1, graph or table. Great for the academic IELTS. Great. So let's go to the next one. So we've got 2 tasks. This is just very general, right? This is for the general IELTS exam. You have 2 tasks, 60 minutes. Task 1 is a letter and task 2 is an essay. So it's quite important to note here, I'm just going to hide Imran's comment there. It's very important to note here that your first task is worth 1/3 of your marks, I think maybe 20 marks, and task 2 is worth 2/3 of your marks, which is about 40 marks. So task 2 in general and IELTS is more important than task 1, So with that in mind, how long should we be spending on each task? We should be spending approximately 20 minutes on task 1 and 40 minutes on task 2. You can get your watch. You're allowed to bring watches into exams, not your phone. But get your watch time, 20 minutes. Be strict with yourself. Be strict with yourself, because the last thing you want is to be left with no time to check your work. And checking is so important, right? So I would say maybe 18 minutes for task 1 and let's say 36 for task 2, roughly. And then you've got a nice bit of time at the end to check all of your work. Checking is so important. Make sure you include that time as well. Good. So what do I actually have to write? Well, like we've just mentioned, general, we start with a letter. If you want some really specific tips about writing that letter, you can go right back to my first lesson on the Mpub Ielts page. I did a whole lesson on specific tips on how to best write your letter. There are a few different styles of writing that you could be asked to write with your letter: formal, informal, or semi-formal. Depending on the context, you have to decide what style you'll be writing in. And you could be given this kind of context, anything from a social context to work, everyday scenarios, such as writing to a landlord or writing to an educational institution, these kind of contexts. So it's kind of like writing an email. The style depends on who you're talking to, right? And then the essay, it's similar in academic and general. You will be given a little question or explanation on a certain topic, and in the academic, it might just use a bit more of academic language, and you'll be expected to write in a more formal style with more advanced structures. So task 2, very, very similar. Task 1, general, letter, academic, the graph or bar chart. Good. So it sounds like I'm repeating myself a lot, but we just want to make sure that we know this. So general, letter and essay, academic, summary, and then an essay. So let's move on now. We've got the overall structure. You will be tested. This is actually from a different thing, so I'm going to move on. But you will be tested on your ability to express yourself in different styles in written English. Okay? You will be tested on your ability to express yourself in different styles in written English. So you want to really be revising those linking words. You want to be revising advanced grammatical structures. That's how you're really going to get these high marks. If you're using advanced structures and tenses, using conditionals, using lots of different clauses and linking words, these things are essential for high band scores. You'll also want to be using an advanced range of vocabulary that is appropriate for the topic. Again, just like Imran was saying, to the point, we're directly answering the question, and the vocabulary has to reflect that, right? So let's have a look at the 2 tasks that you'll be doing. Academic, the task 1 is writing this summary. So it's 150 words, not too long. And the next one, I'm kind of skipping through this a bit because in a minute, we're going to look at some examples of real life examples of academic and general IELTS questions. So that's why I want to spend the majority of this lesson looking at those examples. Okay, so this is our overview, right? The first task is we're writing a summary / analysis of a graph or table. So this is an example of something you might be given. Just like Najmul is saying, for this part of the exam, you should be spending 20 minutes. Really try not to spend more than 20 minutes because it won't be a good use of your time. Just trying to go in a bit more, zoom in a bit here, just so that you can really see in detail what we're looking at. So let's remind ourselves, academic IELTS, the writing section. Once you get to the writing section, you will have already done listening and reading, which are both of the kind of the absorbing information stages, right? You will have listened, read. Now it's your turn to do the productive part of your English. This is where you can really show off to the examiner all that amazing vocabulary you have, all of that advanced syntax and grammar that you've been revising, this is your chance to use it and to show that you really have that advanced level of English. So let's have a look. I think I'll zoom in on each part and then I'll scroll down so that you can see. The graph, so it says, just making sure I've got the right bit here. Great. There we go. You should spend 20 minutes on this task. The graph below shows radio and television audiences throughout the day in 1992. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. Okay, so first of all, I just want to think, what is the main information that is given to me in this graph? What is the main information that I am given? So you can see here, just trying to make sure that you can see it as best as possible. There we go. I think that's the best we're going to get. So I've got my keywords. What are my keywords? Radio and television, audiences. What does audiences actually mean? It means people watching. People watching. So on my paper, I'm going to start writing synonyms. Where it says audiences, I'll write people watching or general public. This is not only good to help make sure that I'm understanding the text correctly, but these are good words that I can use later on in my writing. Because as we know, when you're writing, you shouldn't be using many words from the text you are given. Yeah, you should be using your own words and paraphrasing. At the end of the day, you're showing off the vocabulary that you have, that you've spent all of those hours working on, right? So start noting down those synonyms, audiences, people watching, okay, throughout the day, maybe write in an average day, maybe, or from morning to evening in 1992, specific year. So I've got my, that's what the information, the graph is telling me. Now I want to look, okay, what is actually in the graph? Are there any trends that I can see? It's really, really important here to be noticing trends. So what is this longer line telling us? The longer one is television. Right, I'll just zoom in so you can see that. Television. So what can I see happening with television? What is the main time of day that people are watching television? Here we can see it is about 8 p.m. Right, it's about 8 p.m. So I can already start writing on the graph maybe TV audiences start to increase at a slow rate from 6 p.m. and peak viewing time is at 8 p.m. I can write those notes. Peak just means the highest level in the day. Yeah, peak viewing times at 8 p.m. I can maybe write, we see the biggest decrease between, if you can just see here, just going to show you so that you can see what I'm talking about exactly. If you just look between 10 and 2 p.m. there, you can see, or 10 and 2 a.m. actually, that was my fault. I can say we see the greatest decrease in TV viewers between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. Between 10 p.m. and 2 p.m. Just making my notes there. Then what's happening in radio? Radio's the shorter line, right? Well, in radio, is it the same or different? I'm probably going to be comparing, so it's quite different, right? When is the peak time in radio? In radio, let's look closer. Now, I can't tell exactly, can I? Because there's no line drawing here, but what would you say looking at this? I would say it seems that the peak time for radio listeners is at about 9 a.m. Is at about 9 a.m. Then what happens after 9 a.m? Wow, we have a steady decrease. It's good vocabulary to know. A steady decrease right up until, let's say, 4 p.m. 4 a.m. So it seems that at approximately 9 a.m. we have the peak number of radio listeners in the UK. This number steadily decreases throughout the day until 4 a.m. These are the kind of notes I will be making on the graph because it's the main information. Now let's have a look. What's it actually asking us to write about? Sorry about this. I'm just trying to make sure that you can see these instructions really well, yeah? Because I know it's pretty small on your screens there. So there we go. It says, summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. Okay, great. 150 words. It's not too much. I would say introduction, paragraph, conclusion, maybe 2 paragraphs. Probably not necessary. When you practice counting the words. It seems boring, but you will have your marks lowered. You will have marks reduced if you write too many words or if you write not enough words. So just make sure you're counting that there. Great. So then what would we do? I've made some little notes just on my exam paper to make sure that I've understood. What's the next step? What do we think? Fantastic. I've got people saying I've got people telling us the main features here. So Eden is saying more viewers at 6 p.m. Great point, Eden. I would be even more specific. So this is maybe because you can't see my screen that well, Eden, but you're right. There are more viewers, but we want to make sure we're talking about the peak time, right? So you could say viewers increase up to 6 p.m. and then we see a slight increase up to 8 p.m, which seems to be the peak viewing hour. Eden, I might also say TV viewers. We want to be very specific and might just help. But you're doing well, Eden. I know what you're trying to say there, so that's great. Fantastic. So what do I have to do? Summarize and compare. So the next step will be to write my plan. This is really important. Again, in my 2 first lessons, if you scroll back to the first videos, I gave 2 pretty in-depth lessons on writing IELTS, and there I gave a lot of tips on how to plan for your writing section. And I think it's probably the most important time that you'll spend in the whole exam, because if you write a good plan, writing your essay or your letter or your summary is actually really easy. So for this part, introduction, underline, 2 or 3 points for my introduction. Quite a few students before were asking about a thesis, and absolutely no worries, Eden. No worries, you've got the main idea there. I know the screen's quite small for you there, so fantastic. Anyway, so a lot of students ask about a thesis. What actually is a thesis? A thesis is just basically your main argument in one sentence. It's your main argument in one sentence. So here, I'm not really creating an argument or an opinion, am I? I'm summarising and comparing. But it still would be a really great idea to have that summary sentence, that thesis sentence. And the introduction is a great place to have that. It's actually a good idea to have a sort of thesis statement in the introduction and conclusion. It wraps up your essay really nicely. So you want to open just with a great summary thesis statement. If it's helpful for you guys, let's write one together now, and I'll write it in the comments so that you can see. So let's write. We're summarising and comparing, right? I'm just thinking about what we want to write. Let's make it super good. So let's start with perhaps in 1992, TV and let's say TV viewers in the UK, I'm being specific, TV viewers in the UK, just making this a bit bigger so that you can see everything here. Ooh. Sorry. TV viewers in, okay, so it's not just 1992, is it? It's October to December. So in October to December 1992, TV viewers in the UK tended to watch most TV at 8 p.m. whilst is a really good comparing word, okay? Whilst radio audiences had their peak listening time at approximately, what time was it? 9 a.m. This was a good opening sentence. I'm just going to put it in the comments there so that you can see. So in October to December 1992, TV viewers in the UK tended to watch most TV at 8 p.m, whilst radio audiences had their peak listening time at approximately 9 a.m. That's just a general summary, and then you can start to go into more detail. So, fantastic. This is just a general overview. Once I have written some notes for my introduction, then I'm going to think about my main paragraphs and then think about conclusion. It might not be a topic that you are hugely interested in. I know that I don't really look at, we're getting ahead of ourselves here. I know that I don't really look at statistics for TV and radio audiences. It's not maybe a topic that I am passionate about. And a lot of the time this happens. It's a bit of a boring topic, but the examiner just wants to see that you have that academic English, that you can use words like whilst, however, considering this, in conclusion, that you can use formal vocabulary to write these kind of reports, which is something you would be doing at university or in a professional setting. Of course, in those professional settings at university, you have chosen the subject. Here, the exam board chooses the subject, and sometimes it's not that interesting, right? But it's just the nature of the game. Okay. Kandoker is asking, how can I improve my writing task 1? I think it's very difficult for me. Well, Kandoker, good news for you is that Merseyside Publishing is offering these amazing free lessons with native learners. So tune into these lessons. Hopefully they're really helpful for you. We're putting in a lot of time to make sure that we're giving you the best tips for these IELTS exams. And really specifically for you, Kandoka, I would say make sure you're doing something every day. Read articles from English language sources. So whatever kind of news you like, I know everybody has different opinions, different preferences for news, but for almost any news channel in the world, you're lucky because the probability is they will have an English website or an English language radio channel, but specifically something that you can read in English. If you don't have a preference, great places to look are BBC, The Guardian, Independent maybe. If you like fashion or recipes or cars, just Google any of those topics, you'll find stuff in English. Just make sure, of course, that you're being careful that these are websites with a good reputation and that are using correct English. This is why I'd recommend sites like the BBC or The Guardian, because it's very formal English. It's great vocabulary to be learning. So those websites with a good kind of reputation and a wide audience will have advanced English for you to be reading. I hope that's helpful, Kandoka. Read every day something. And for the writing as well, I would say in the 2 months before your test, do a practice exam every week. Sounds like a lot. Just challenge yourself. Do it every week. And time yourself. Be strict with the timing, because maybe in the first few weeks, you might want to give yourself a bit more time, and that's totally fine. You might want to, even at the beginning, be doing the practice exams with your material next to you. So you can have your list of linking words or list of relevant vocabulary next to you, and you can practice including that in your writing. That's great to do at the beginning. When you get closer to the exam, do those practice exams without anything to help you. Then, when you've finished, assess your own work. This is a really, really good skill. You need to start getting used to assessing your own work. So read it through and try to find the mistakes yourself, or if you find words that are used very commonly, words like nice or good, we want to try and be replacing those kind of words with more advanced vocabulary to get those high level scores. Also, words like and. Of course, we have to use and sometimes, but when you're checking your work, try to make sure you've got some of those lovely advanced linking words, because that's what's really going to get you the high marks. Hope that helps, Kandoka. Read every day, practice as much as you can, and check your own work. 3 big tips. Hope that's helpful. Okay, Mohammed is saying, could you tell us some good books that have rich vocabulary? Well, Mohammed, that is a great question. It really depends what kind of thing you like reading. I always say, read what you're interested in. So lots of students love Harry Potter, and they read Harry Potter in their own language when they were younger. Fantastic. Now is the time to get that Harry Potter in English and read it. I have some of my favourite books. I love reading autobiographies and books related to history or politics. So, and also kind of traditional British novels. Some great ones are Pride and Prejudice, if you like those romantic kind of things. Wild Swans is one of my favourite books. It's got quite advanced vocabulary. I read that as a teenager and it really helped me actually to improve my vocabulary. You could read some kind of classic literature like 1984, which is by George Orwell. It's quite depressing, but it's got some very advanced vocabulary in there. So it really depends what you like to read. Those are some of the kind of things that I like to read. Yeah. Luckily, with English, pretty much any topic, you can find something that is written in English. Also, if you have a favourite author in your country, check and see if they have translations into English. Or if you are interested in a topic, for example, I know recently I've been quite interested in Mexico and Mexican history. So I searched for that topic, and because I'm learning Spanish, I found some in Spanish. Great. So if you're interested maybe in British history, American history, search those topics, look for those books. Fantastic. I've talked too much. That's just some of my ideas. Okay. This is maybe just last question before we go to the next things. Najmul is saying, I have a problem. How can I paraphrase a sentence? It's really difficult for me. I hope you will share your opinion. Thanks so much for this question, Najmul. This is actually really helpful. Just like Najmul said, when you get these questions in the exam, it's really important that you know how to paraphrase the question, because you're not allowed to exactly copy the vocabulary in the question. So I think, just like I was saying before, Najmul, obviously we need to go into the exam prepared, don't we? A good way to prepare is to do lots of synonyms. So what you can do actually with common words like good, nice, maybe negative, positive, difference, some words that you'd use to compare. If you go to a website, I will actually share it with you now. There's a synonyms website that you can use to search synonyms for these words, thesaurus.com. So you can search, for example, let's look up nice. Students always say this, really try and use synonyms for nice because it's not as advanced. Great. So if you, there we go. We have loads of synonyms here. Attractive, becoming, cordial, fair, friendly, kind, superior, favourable. Wow, loads. So I'm going to send you this link, and let's get back to this. in the comments. And when you get the question, start noting down synonyms for specific words. And in that way, you'll be able to rebuild it. Also, just practice. Practice as much as you can. I hope that's correct. Okay, I'm just going to move on to the next one because we haven't got that much time. So, writing task 2. What do we have to do on writing task 2 on the academic? Well, okay, perfect, nice and big. You should spend about 40 minutes on this, and this is an example of a topic, right? So, international tourism has brought enormous benefit to many places. At the same time, there is concern about its impact on local inhabitants and the environment. Do the disadvantages of international tourism outweigh the advantages? Give reasons for your answer and include any relevant examples from your knowledge or experience. Good, so this is a big difference between task 2 and task 1. In task 1, should we bring in relevant examples or personal experiences? No. Even if you know a lot about the topic, in task 1, it's not relevant. You're just asked to summarize. So it would be useful because you'll know the vocabulary to use, but don't bring in that extra information. Here, if you have background knowledge and relevant examples, it is a fantastic idea to use that. Yeah, so I see this, underline keywords, international tourism, enormous benefit. Oh, what's the second sentence telling me? It's telling me the opposite. People are having concern. What does concern mean? It means worry. It means people are unsure. And then impact on 2 things, people and planet. People and planet. Those are 2 synonyms of inhabitants and environments. Great. So what am I doing here? I'm weighing up disadvantages and advantages. So I'm going to start writing my plan. I'm not going to go into much detail. I'm just going to show you the 2 other examples on the general IELTS before we finish. So, general IELTS first task is, writing the letter. So, let's look at this example. Your local public library wants to make improvements to their services and facilities. In order to get ideas from the public, they have asked library users to send them suggestions in writing. Write a letter to the librarian. In your letter, describe what you like about the library, say what you don't like, make suggestions for improvements. That is actually perfect because it's given me that structure already. I know that I've got the introduction and then it's only 150 words, so maybe just 2 small paragraphs, or maybe 3 actually, but because it's a letter, these paragraphs will be small, maximum 2 sentences per paragraph, not more. So first paragraph will be describing what I like. This is a great thing to start with in general. You're starting with something positive. Yeah, I've really enjoyed taking out letters from the library, and I love the wide selection of children's books that you have, for example. Say what you don't like. I could say, unfortunately, you have a restricted selection for toddlers and under 2s. This has been particularly challenging as I have 2 younger children who love reading. Then suggestions for improvements. Okay, really quickly before we finish, task 2, really similar to the academic one. Shopping is becoming more and more popular as a leisure activity. However, some people feel that this has both positive and negative effects. Why is shopping so popular? What effects does it increase in popularity have on individuals and on society? Yeah, so asking me why it's popular and what effect does it have? Introduction, 3 paragraphs, conclusion. If you want more specific advice, ask me in the comments, and you can have a look at my previous lessons on the Mpub page. I hope that was really helpful. It has been lovely chatting to you guys today, and any other questions, feel free to send a message to the page or write a comment here. I will see you tomorrow at 3 p.m. for our next session on writing IELTS. Have a fantastic day, everyone. Bye.